The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za. And by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Hello and welcome to the ZA Tech Show, episode number 195, recorded on Monday, 24 January 2012. My name is Simon Dingle, and with me this evening, my panel of technology experts, beginning alphabetically with Andy Hatfield.
There are some benefits to your name starting with an A.
Yes, there are.
Always called out first at
AndyHatfield.com
parties.
or at Andy Hatfield on Twitter. Thanks for being with us.
That's me. And happy 52nd month wedding anniversary to my wife, and I'm terribly sorry I'm geeking it up here.
Congratulations, Andy.
And drinking wine.
Well done to your wife for sticking it out.
Oh, no. Wine
One
tonight.
of the most patient women on the face of the earth.
Wine tonight, Obiqua Shiraz.
Okay.
2011.
Andy is a wine aficionado,
No, I'm
founder of Real Time Wine,
July.
and that's why he always brings wine with, so he can talk about it. All right, Brett Haggett's here from Hypertext Media Communication, publishers of Connect Magazine, Girl Guides, and various other online assets. That's a lot of wine.
It is
Thank
a
you,
lot
Andy.
of wine. Hello, Simon.
How you doing, Bretsky?
I'm fine, Si. How are you?
I'm good.
Long time no
Good,
see,
good.
dude.
Yes, it's been about 3 days.
My heart has been pining the entire time.
Yes, well, as they say, absence grows. What? Absence makes the heart grow fond.
Abscesses grow.
Abscess makes the...
In our case, not so much. All right. Anyway, that's our panel for this evening. Arthur Goldstuck was going to join us. Unfortunately, that's no longer the case. He
Why do
can
you
no
want that?
longer join us. So no Arthur Goldstuck. So just the three of us. Are we going to comment? No, we're not going to comment on the wine. Sorry if you're
always
watching the
comment on
video.
wine, come
It's
on.
not...
It's not
It's not like
bad.
sandpaper. It's kind of like a fine water paper.
I don't hate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still have taste in my mouth.
Better than a poke in the eye. All
Indeed.
right.
Or poke in both eyes.
So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about technology.
I don't know. Hey, you might want to poke me. In the eye, that is.
So I bought a wine this weekend. I haven't actually tasted it yet, but I bought it just because of the initiative. It's called Sauvignon.com.
Yeah.
That's
And,
It's not
clever.
bad. It was one of the top 10 Sauvignon Blancs of
Oh, really?
2010.
Because it's one of the first sort of wines that I've seen embracing sort of
properly
geekdom,
digital.
you know.
Yeah.
So they've got sort of a social strategy going, and
Sauvignon.
and I've got a website for it, and I like the design. So I thought, well, you know, it might be crap wine, but I'm going to support them anyway
Yeah.
because somebody's making wine for geeks.
Anything's got to be better than
Good on them.
the giant mistake
You
by
know-
the Parlotones. But anyway,
You know, Twitter.
Or the politicians
one of Twitter's
themselves.
outreach
Indeed.
programs is a wine. It's a crowdsourcing wine initiative, I think. So
Okay.
Twitter has a wine.
a crowdsourced wine. So,
Yeah, so like
they
you-
pretty much crowdsource wine. Everybody sends them
I
wine.
don't quite know how it works.
I think it's a great idea. We should totally do the same.
I'll look it up and
Let's
pick it
crowdsource whiskey.
if it tickles me fancy.
Okay. So where should we begin this week? I think
There's only
we
one
should start
story.
with the most amazing news this week, and that was the announcement that Alanot Craig, Senior, has been appointed as the new CEO of Cell C.
Who would have thunk it?
I had to read it twice when I saw the announcement. It
Yes.
just didn't seem possible. I mean,
And then phone
So-
them up and go, are you sure you didn't mean junior? Did you leave a junior out of there somewhere?
Obviously, his what's that clause in the contract which prevents
Restraint
you from
of
working?
trade?
Restraint of trade. Obviously, that is up,
apparently his restraint was only 3 years.
Yeah.
and that's
So-
silly.
Just to provide some color for our international listeners, Vodacom, who are sponsors of the ZA Tech Show, that was the original cellular network in South Africa. They were first
yeah.
to market with cellular in South Africa. And Alanot Craig was the founder of the company.
I had a rumor.
Cell C is a company that was started long after Vodacom, about 10 years later.
After
6 years later.
some serious,
Yeah.
debacles with Icasa, and finally,
And
they
the
were known
two-
as the third network operator for a very long
Yeah.
time. So
But the two have been duking it out publicly with advertising campaigns, no less, slating each other. So this is literally akin to Bill Gates leaving Microsoft, coming out of retirement to take over Apple. You know,
Pretty much.
Or
the
to
South
join
African
Linus
context.
Torvalds as the person running
Yeah.
the whole Linux movement. Yeah,
now my question is: does Alan Craig not still have shares in
that
Vodacom?
was my question. And does that not present a very interesting conflict of interest?
Yeah. Now, the other question, of course, is what the hell brought him out of retirement to Cell C of all places? Because it wasn't money.
Look,
No,
yeah,
it's
well, look,
boredom.
you know,
Especially
I'm
if he had
sure
to
he's
sell all
being
his
paid
shares.
bombs to do the job.
It doesn't matter.
Absolutely
It's not
no doubt.
about money.
But
He's a billionaire. He
It
doesn't
is-
need the cash. He's doing this for other reasons.
no, for sure. And I mean, it's as we were discussing before, money does enter into it because generally, it's the only tuning fork or measure or yardstick
I
for
don't know.
success. All right, people that have way more money than what you could possibly need in a lifetime strive for more because it is
I
a
don't buy
yardstick
that.
for success. But I don't think that's true in the case of
No.
Alan. I don't think so at all. I think it's really a mystery. It would be a very, very interesting question
Well,
to have
he's
answered.
quoted as saying the cell phone industry is what's stagnant.
Yeah, I
and
was going to say that. You know,
bored and-
he said that there's scope for disruption, and that that's what he wants to do. He's been very outspoken during his retirement about the state of telecoms in South Africa and what everybody's doing right and wrong. But it's just a crazy move. Now, of course, it's joined to the rumors that have been circulating for years that Cell C is an acquisition target, that there are some international carriers who are considering buying Cell C.
Makes sense.
The rumor for years, of course, has been that Orange, the big French telco, that they've been looking for another African network to consume, and that they've been considering Cell C. Another very strong rumor that surfaced over the past few months is that Bharti Airtel is looking for a South African network to acquire.
Well, they were looking around MTN for a bit as well, as far as I understand.
No, Bharti and MTN were going to merge.
No, for sure.
We're
No,
talking
I'm saying
about the two biggest operators in the emerging markets. They're literally unacquirable.
No, for sure. But what I'm saying was there was some activity going on with MTN
Yes,
for a
they
while.
were going to merge,
Yeah.
which wouldn't have passed Indian legislation, Bharti Airtel being an Indian company.
And
but
it was
they
like
did.
strange sub-holdings in other stuff and 50% holdings and
Yeah,
dual
it was
listings
gonna be
and
a
all
stock
kinds of
swap and
weird,
stuff.
weird scenarios.
They ended up buying Zain Telecoms,
Yes.
the Kenyan telco that had broken into Nigeria as well and various other African countries. And Bharti's been quite aggressive in markets like Kenya and Nigeria now with the Airtel brand.
In fact, I think they've actually been rebranding in those markets
Yes,
as
yeah,
well.
of course. But they're South Africa, of course, is not somewhere that Airtel is, and it's quite possible that they would look to acquire Cell C, Airtel being one of the few operators big enough to do so.
Sure.
So one has to wonder if perhaps Alan was brought in to dress up Cell C for acquisition to handle that process.
I like that theory. I buy it for $1. I think you'll have fun doing it. That's the kind of job where you take $1 per year, R1 per year, and equity,
Yeah.
and then he'll dress
Look,
it up for sale.
when Lars Reichelt was at the helm of Cell C, there were rumors that he was brought in to dress it up for acquisition.
I think he took it. He took it a few necessary steps towards where someone could step in. Now, I mean, remember when he took over, Cell C was floundering.
Yes, yeah.
He gave it that kind of bullish, aggressive attitude and brand that it
to
has
be
now.
fair, that started with Jeffrey Hedberg when he was at the helm of Cell C. He really started a lot of the initiatives that were carried through under Lars Reichelt. Lars did amazing work. He definitely did, especially in marketing Cell C and rebranding it. But it's the turnaround really started with Jeffrey Hedberg, and of course, I suppose 2008's ruling in the High Court that networks could self-provision following the whole Altec case. But it's interesting times. So I don't know where I can't remember when Not Craig sticks into the post and takes over officially, but it's gonna be very interesting.
And that family is just, so that family is now probably the biggest tech investors in the country. Father is sat on
Possibly,
the
yeah.
CEO of the biggest and
Them and the
third
Ruperts.
biggest thing. They're man, it's that Stellenbosch business crowd
Yeah.
is powerful.
Yes, definitely.
It's the Illuminati,
Well, careful.
the Winer right.
They know where you live.
Yeah, they do.
I'm just looking. I'm not going to play some of these ads. The Cell C versus Vodacom stuff. Let's not go.
Yeah,
there
there
again.
was some there was some interesting stuff. I think, you know what, it's a good theory. It makes sense. They're, really the only company in that space right now that would be an option for acquisition. I think the interesting thing is to see how quiet Cell C has been since Lars has left.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of activity, and then it's just gone steadily more and more.
But I think he was
quiet.
that type of CEO that he was extremely active. He was very use a corporate vomit word, open door. So he was really involved in the day-to-day running. And when someone like that leaves, you do have a momentum hiccup.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's probably what we were seeing.
Yeah.
No, but I haven't seen a lot of clever ads and stuff like that for a while. I haven't seen a lot of ballsy anything from them for quite a while now.
Look, I think they've been managing the transition, as Andy said. It must be. I wonder how this is being digested by the top exco at Vodacom. It's not something they'll express their real feelings about, I suspect.
Except behind closed doors.
Yeah, but
But of course they will welcome all forms of competition, because the competition is unbelievably healthy for the market.
Well,
And the customer wins it at the end of the day. And it's all about the customer, really.
But it's
that's
kind
what
of-
is going
I don't
on
know.
behind publicly,
I
at least.
I would feel quite. I don't know, betrayed, I suppose, is
Affronted.
the right word. If the
Yeah,
founder
no,
of your
for sure.
company goes and heads up your sworn enemy.
I was massively surprised by that. Massively surprised.
Anyway, while we're touching on Jeffrey Hedberg, he was in the news this week, of course. He's left Altec. That was a very brief tenure as their COO. The Fenter brothers not mincing their words either when asked about it. But, diplomatically enough, just explaining that Altec's not like a big parastatal, because Jeffrey Hedberg headed up Telkom, which is
Yes.
our incumbent network operator, South Africa's AT&T. And that's where he came from, and just didn't adapt to the Altec environment. It looked like there was some serious head bashing that went on there. The net result is Jeffrey Hedberg leaving Altec. I wonder where he'll pop up next.
How is Altec doing at the moment? I'm sure I was reading something that said they were.
They've been up and
in
down.
trouble.
The moment you go pan-African, currency starts to become a big factor in your reporting.
Yeah.
And currency fluctuations and volatilities become a problem. I think Altec's been better at managing them than most. And it's been a fantastic investment over the last few years, Altec. It's been a really good place to put money during the recession as well, They've showed consistent growth. They're also very good at handling investors. So even when things weren't going so well, they still managed to increase dividends, for example. And so it was a fantastic stock to hold if you're into investing in tech. But generally, I mean, when you talk about Altec, you're talking about, I think it's now 26 companies in the group, including Netstar, which does vehicle tracking, and Altec Autopage, which is their cellular division. So they've been doing pretty well. But looking at international companies, lots happening in the sort of CE space, right?
Yes, yes, and sometimes you get two for the price of one, as
Brett
happens
knows what
today.
story I'm moving on to.
Segue into BlackBerry.
Yeah, indeed.
This
And
was coming
about
with
frickin' time. I'm sorry.
Well, if you're wondering what we're talking about, the two CEOs, Jim Balsillie and Mike Lazaridis from BlackBerry, have stepped down. Not only have they stepped down as CEOs, Mike Lazaridis has also stepped aside as chairman of the board.
Yep.
It's basically a decapitation interim.
Yes, but they did it together, which I think is nice. Like as dual CEOs, they did step down together. I was reading a very interesting story today that was essentially saying that, okay, that's cool, that's a great start, but this is not the fix that BlackBerry needs.
Yeah.
There are some strategic changes. Well, sorry, the fix that RIM needs. There are some strategic changes that need to take place at the company in order for it to regain its mojo. And I think that is right, but I don't think that was ever going to happen with them at the helm,
Yes. The new CEO has his work cut out for him. I mean, they must be, what do they call it? Not a golden handshake. They call it a something else handshake, where you're given money to take a job as opposed to when you leave.
As a golden handcuffs is where you are given.
Possibly.
No, it's a fact. So when you are given like a ridiculous amount of money to take a job, they're called the golden handcuffs.
Yeah. He's a former Siemens executive, Torsten Heinz, who's been with RIM since 2007, and he's now their new CEO. And man, is he in for some sleepless nights.
Well, he's in that first interview that I read today. He's starting to talk about BlackBerry OS 10 and the
OS,
playbook.
yes, that's right. It's no longer BBX because it can't be BBX. It's BBOS 10.
BBOS 10 and
someone
playbook
owns
2.
BBX. So, yeah.
So they're going to repeat the playbook kerfuffle.
You know, Brett, I don't know if you visited the BlackBerry stand at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, but geez, man, it was a big stand with not many people hanging around looking at it.
Yeah, but you know what? That said, there was some interesting stuff going on. It was
yeah.
nice. It was really nice to see the playbook with some actual real
and
use to it. I mean, it you know, and I'm not even being sarcastic or nasty about this. The playbook, I've always said, has got phenomenal hardware and a phenomenal operating system.
Yeah.
There's just bits of functionality missing from it because the apps aren't there.
Yes.
And the playbook they were showing off with the latest version of QNX,
Yeah.
and the apps on it, like native mail clients, these kinds of things. I'm going like, wow, okay, this could actually still have a lot of value if you can manage to skirt around the fact that the name of the device is kind of quite scarred in the market. People have written it off.
Yeah.
I think the new operating system looks really, really good. Looks very intriguing. The devices, I don't think, have caught up from an industrial design perspective yet, but they're definitely going in the right direction. There's going to need to be like a serious injection of awesome. There's got to be some big bang in order to get the interest back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what BlackBerry has to do now. I mean, I've always said it on the show. I love the playbook, and in my opinion, it's the best tablet platform in the market.
I love the hardware,
but it's just not being supported by developers. And it's amazing how much of any business is about PR in this day and age.
Yeah.
Once you develop a bad name, a bad rap, get some journalists as enemies, you just can't seem to get back from that.
But also
when social media hates you, man,
how floundering around names and stuff like that can also damage you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's called this, no, it's called that, or maybe we should call this. You know, HP's had a couple of fails like that has really punished them quite badly.
Yeah.
And
let's be fair, they usually deserved it.
Oh yeah, well look. Yes, often a lot of people at HP don't actually know what's going on at HP. So
yeah,
but I really think that there is some value there, and I think that this new dude can eke some good value out. Another interesting story I was reading actually before the announcements of the dual CEOs stepping down. What was essentially saying that the only thing that's really left for BlackBerry to do in terms of regaining that mojo and getting really, really interesting is starting to look at software licensing.
Yes.
Because what they have is a very, very unique thing. They have a really, really powerful asset there that maybe they're not able to efficiently leverage using their own technology. Maybe they need to look at getting
what's the powerful asset?
The whole BIS engine.
That used to be a powerful asset that's now become an absolute liability for them.
You reckon?
With the BIS server infrastructure, like how they deliver that internet.
You see, nobody needs it. South Africa is one of the last countries where you can't get an iPhone or an Android on unlimited data. So I
know that the networks don't favor it because they make less money off of BlackBerry than what they do off of Android and iPhone and all of the other smart devices.
Yeah, so it used to be an advantage with corporate customers when it allowed them to gain a certain amount of mobile functionality that they couldn't get from any other platform. The moment Exchange went mobile, Google started doing it properly. Apple started paying attention to Exchange integration and that level of sort of
Windows Phone
support.
does Exchange phenomenally.
Nobody needs the BlackBerry infrastructure anymore, and so it's a multifaceted problem for RIM because they've got these servers all over the world that need to be maintained, that are hitched onto networks who don't want them there, that give them no sort of differentiated advantage over the other mobile platforms that are out there, and that the thing that used to sort of carve out a moat for them in the market before is now actually turned on them as something that they don't want, can't afford, can't get rid of,
and no one wants,
and
also,
no one needs or wants.
Sure.
The other problem is RIM has always had to work very closely with Microsoft on Exchange integration, with IBM on Lotus integration, making sure that its proprietary technology worked with whatever you were using for your email and stuff. And Microsoft and
they've got
IBM,
their own stuff now.
And they're just not that interested in playing ball with RIM.
Well, Microsoft's always going to, now that Windows Phone's in the marketplace, massive amount of effort there. I mean, remember, we're seeing a strategy starting to fall in place with Microsoft right now with Windows 8, Xbox Live, and phone.
Yeah.
It's the first time the companies look coherent in about 10 years, in my opinion.
This is the year where it's actually all going to come together.
And I saw some stuff at CES that I was like, oh, hell's yes. Microsoft, well done. Seriously, well done, because you dug yourself out of a killer hole there.
Yeah, with the help of Nokia.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, and we haven't, I don't think we've even seen the full extent of what Nokia can do for them yet. This is just,
definitely.
it's just been a little bit of hype up to now.
But talk about turnaround. I mean, Nokia and BlackBerry were two companies that were in very similar positions
complete
a year
polar
and a half
opposites.
ago. Whereas Nokia's managed to claw back. And I mean, what Nokia did was the CEO stepped aside and somebody new took over before.
Well, I don't think he stepped aside.
Well, sure, but he was
yeah,
removed.
try out this new slide.
But whether OPK and Jim Balsillie and Mike Lazaridis were capable of turning around the company or not, it's about managing perceptions with investors, with customers, with the media. And the only way you switch the perception and show people that you've changed is by changing something.
Yeah, I suppose.
Drastically.
Yeah. No, sure.
And so Obama's going to get the credit for this.
Look, you know what? And I've got to actually say, the man irritates me something stupid. I can't stand his voice. I think he looks uncomfortable on stage, and I think he's a little clownish. Right? But you got to give the guy some credit. I was reading a story, again, recently that essentially said, okay, in the background, while we've been ridiculing this man, Microsoft has had the most successful period of its life. All right? The share price in no way reflects that.
Well, it does.
No, well, look, a share's not on steroids like some other companies.
10 years, it's been growing for the last few months.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, no, but I'm talking about the past decade. He's essentially been in control of that company for a decade now. So.
Although it's unfair to kind of count any investment movement, which once again is based on perception. But while Gates was there, it's really only been 4 or 5 years now.
Okay, well, let's call it 5 years. Even so, it's only in the past couple of months that the share's really been showing some really good activity. Yeah. It's been relatively
up from
static.
25 to 30 in the last couple of months.
It's been relatively stagnant and very, very conservative for the past 5 years. But he has really run a very, very tight ship. He's brought the right people in at the right times. It takes a while to roll a strategy out the way they have at the moment.
I'm not disputing that. I've said all along that Steve Ballmer has been at the helm of the best years for Microsoft.
I'm talking about how my perception of this man has changed. I mean, I still actually can't listen to him speak because there's something about the timbre of his voice that just like does something to me.
Squeaks.
Yeah, he's got an uncomfortable mannerism on stage, and he jumps around and he looks kind of uncomfortable and weird. But dude, stick him in the back room, let him run stuff, and put somebody cool and funky and geeky as the front face of the company, and you got a winner.
Well, let me say something that could make me potentially unpopular, but I think it has.
You wouldn't want that.
I think it has less to do with Steve Ballmer running the company and more to do with the fact that Bill Gates isn't. Now, don't get me wrong.
I agree. I totally agree.
Bill is an amazing philanthropist, a remarkable businessman, but I spend all day reading about tech companies. And the more you read about Bill Gates, you just realize that at no point in history did this guy get it. He just didn't get it.
No,
a couple of very lucky calls.
I think he knew how to make money.
No,
and that's what
he
made money
he's a good
at the expense of all else.
But when it came to consumers, when it came to what they needed, when it came to the technology, nobody doubts the fact that he had the technical chops. He did have the technical chops.
The strategy was appropriate at the time. It just wasn't appropriate for the long term.
But when you read the quotes, when you read what he was saying in the press, he just didn't.
But it was balls to the wall guerrilla business.
You know, when he was told about Gmail, for example, at the stage that Hotmail had a 1 megabyte mailbox size standard for its users, and he couldn't understand why anybody would need more than 25 megs maximum for their email. You know, you just read the statements from him and the things he said to the press around that time, where he said, "What is the famous one? Yeah, I've tried Gmail, I've tried A, B, C, D, and email too." You know, and just. I don't know.
No, look,
he didn't inspire much in me. I'll be honest. I love Bill. I love what he's doing.
Look,
I love the company
as a software architect, he was absolutely great. He did some fantastic stuff. I think his business model was appropriate for the time. Yeah. And I think, as has been evidenced to how Microsoft has fallen from grace as the sweetheart of the industry in the past decade, right? That strategy was just, and they towed that strategy. They towed that line for too long. Yeah. Right, while everybody else was getting really, really funky and innovative and experimenting with cool ways of engaging with their customers, Microsoft still sold you bits of paper that entitled you to make use of their software.
Yeah.
And, and look at all of the companies that followed suit and how much pain those guys are taking. I mean, Lotus was this huge thing back in the day with the productivity suites. Same story. Now it's pretty much like Notes, dude.
Well, no, actually, it's more
and
software
Domino.
than it's ever been.
No, but what I'm saying is it's like, the licensing models are vastly different.
Right.
I mean, where is Corel today? Same
No.
kind of company.
Corel. Wow,
Where is
that's a
Corel
Some
today?
design
Nice.
shops still run Corel. Still
Really?
Going, yeah, WordPerfect's still going.
And have they kept
kind of.
upgrading
Yeah,
it so it works
we won't work with them now, because if you send me artwork in a Corel file, you deserve to be shot in the head. I'm sorry. It's like, it is not a layout package. I'm sorry. But
Is that
so
still
many of those
supported?
companies,
Yeah.
think of all of those companies that were making bucket loads of money back in the day. They were using pretty much the same software model. Adobe. Look at how much pain Adobe's taking from the market, turning around to them and saying, you're charging too much for your software.
Yeah, but
Blah, blah, blah,
there's
blah,
been
blah,
a
blah, blah.
revolution,
So-
which we can't unpack now, but things have changed in the technology
Indeed. And
market,
those guys
you know.
haven't seen those changes.
And
I
it's
think
been spearheaded by Google and Apple. Those are the two companies that have really changed people's perceptions about how technology should be owned and created.
Well, that's
But
the
quietly
thing.
in the background, IBM and Microsoft have done so. While that cloud play is very much in the consumer face for Gmail, for Google and for Apple,
Yeah.
very consumer focused. Quietly in the background, Microsoft and IBM have been doing stuff in that space that have got the businesses completely wrapped up. I've read so
IBM's
many
an
interesting,
case, but-
really, really cool case studies from the business space on how people are like going absolutely mental for what Microsoft's doing with Azure.
yeah.
All right. Clearly, IBM's always going to do well in that space because they know the business space just so ridiculously well,
Yeah.
and they've focused on services. But there is, quietly in the background, these two companies are seriously playing ball in the business space, and it just doesn't, because enterprise and business isn't cool anymore. It just doesn't make the press.
I wonder if that leaves Google out in the rain a little.
Not really.
You don't think?
No.
They've been disintermediated by Siri. They're pretty much out of the.
I don't know if it's fair to say that.
No,
to be honest.
buy apps. Let's be honest. Any app that sits in front of
I mean,
Google
Google
is a search
started the whole sort of Siri idea in the Nexus One,
Yes,
which was
for sure.
the first version of
Yeah,
Android 2.
It's been an Android for ages, but it doesn't work.
No, but and to be fair, Siri's not perfect either.
No, I
No,
always
look,
end up
yeah.
saying "screw you, Siri." Andy, your language.
It's
works
funny how
everywhere else. If it's it works in the US, but nowhere else. That's amazing. It's like you can get it to answer you like localized questions that are stuff that's like on your phone,
yes,
like general knowledgey stuff, where you can search the internet using it. But you really can't do any of the cool location-based stuff that I was playing around with in the States, and that's where it becomes pretty mental. Where you
well,
can like
Apple's implementing it for the rest of the world this year, so South Africa's on the list of countries
Yes.
that'll get that stuff this year.
Yeah.
Look, Siri's very useful when it does work. I use it to convert things. It's very handy for like converting pounds to kilograms or dollars to rands, or
Yeah.
very good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's also very good
great
for
for setting up
alarms.
appointments, dude.
Yeah, setting up appointments, reminders.
Fantastic.
But what I found is Siri, I go through waves with Siri, and I don't know if it's about ambient noise or what, but I'll have some days where I'll be like virtually mumbling and Siri will understand everything I say. And then other days where I'm kind of slowly speaking so that Siri can understand, and it just gets it completely wrong.
it's because you're on edge, dude, when that happens. Seriously.
No,
It's
absolutely.
like not enough
Siri
bandwidth
has
to
moves.
push that.
You know,
Possibly.
she's a person too.
Yeah. All right. So, tablet ownership, massive boost over December. I want to talk about that in a moment. But
Yes.
before we do, I want to talk about our fantastic sponsors of the ZA Tech Show. They are Vodacom. Very proud to have them on board. It's been a while now that we've been doing this with Vodacom, and they've been fantastic partners to us at the ZA Tech Show. And of course, at the helm of Vodacom, leading from the front, is Peter Ace, the CEO of the company, who's on Twitter. Now, I wrote an article about this in FinWeek recently. There aren't many CEOs who you'll find on Twitter. There are even few CEOs who you'll find actively using Twitter. And out of the CEOs doing that, even fewer get any love from their customers.
Yes.
But Peter Ace has been an example of how you do Twitter right as a CEO.
And you do social media right. I mean,
And
he's
he's
even engaging fantastically well on Facebook.
Yeah,
It's
and he's
awesome.
dived in there. He doesn't have other people tweeting for him. He tweets from his phone. I've seen him do it myself. Helping out customers, referring them to the right people within the business, trying to resolve problems that Vodacom customers are having. I've personally heard from 3 people in the last month who have had engineers out to their house when they've had weak signal and complained about it on Twitter. Vodacom has fitted antennas to their houses. Signal is better than ever. And I just, in this day and age, I think if you're not doing this stuff and doing it actively as an executive at a company, you are missing a trick. And Vodacom's CEO, Peter Ace, doing a fantastic job. So if you want to follow Peter Ace on Twitter, he's at AcePJ. That's UYSPJ. And of course, we are, as always, very proud to have Vodacom as our sponsors of the ZA Tech Show.
So
Now, can I touch on
Brief
something for
power
a
hiccup
second?
in the studio, but
Can I touch on something
wouldn't
for a
have
second
noticed
now
if you
that
weren't watching the video.
the word from our sponsors is over?
Huh?
I've seen a couple of CEO fails over the past week. CEOs
Twitter.
that were doing an absolutely great job on Twitter and whose accounts have been hacked. And
Like who?
I don't know whether I should really say because he's a really, really rare
Dude, they're
dude.
on
but
Twitter.
Anyway.
It's public.
It's public.
Yeah, so who?
So I'm convinced Michael Jordan's account got hacked this past week because he was
Really?
tweeting all about diet pills and like, stuff like that at
I
one
didn't
stage.
see that.
Yes, in fact, it was when we were overseas at
Really?
in Vegas for CES.
We could ask
Duncan
him about
McLeod
it.
actually picked it
Michael,
up.
your
and,
account, quickly.
But
and,
Michael is another great example of a CEO who
he does
uses
a great
Twitter
job
effectively.
normally. But I think, you know what, that's what I wanted to say. It's just like, if you're going to do this, firstly, okay, do this because it's a great tool and, you can really rock it. But at the same time, it's like, you got to be pretty careful because that can end up being in quite a big fail. So
Sure. Didn't notice those from Michael. He's
I'm just looking through his tweets now. I don't see
what
them.
was it like over a week ago?
well, I
though,
suppose
so-
he would have deleted them if he had in fact been hacked.
Maybe. Some people don't know how to delete tweets or know that they can be.
I think Michael would.
FNB had a slew of some seriously bad fails in terms of their normal Twitter account in the
Really?
past couple of days. They tweeted a link to, well, I suppose it's not really that much of a family show, but RB Jacobs tweeted a link to a news story about a chick with 2 vaginas that's been offered $1 million by someone to like be in a porn. And like somebody was like,
I'm going to go with rogue agent working in FNB's social networking team.
And
Either
can
that
happen.
or
That can happen.
disgruntled ex-employee.
and Jason Bagley, I think, actually spotted. He was like, RB Jacobs, really? A woman with 2 vaginas at 8 p.m. at night? Maybe not.
So I wanted
So,
I wanted to
so
ask
yeah, I
you-
don't know. Maybe there was like a system-wide hack or something like that.
I wanted
don't
to
know.
ask you guys what you think about 2012 coming up and this whole social media thing, because not to take anything away from what those executives are doing, and I think it's really cool and it's really novel, and all the brownie points are being earned now. But
yeah.
where is this whole thing going? Because businesses just don't have time to engage in this puerile conversation that social media has turned into, and I'm very about the whole social media thing at the moment.
Well, I
it's-
think the market's come to terms with the fact that social media platforms are just that. They're just platforms.
they're
When the
social.
telephone was introduced, it was a major disruption. It was this new communications technology. But nobody thinks that your company rises and falls by its telephones. Telephones are just something everybody has. Twitter and Facebook are just new communications platforms.
Okay, so
They're
now
something
where is-
everybody has, and it's all about what you do with them. And I think the market's starting to wake up to the fact that you're not clever if you have a Facebook page or a Twitter handle. It's all about what you do with them.
Correctly. But now,
You know?
where is the place for business in this? Because I look at how normal people use the social media stuff, and it's to talk to friends and to keep in touch with
Well,
friends.
it depends on
And
the
that
business.
makes sense.
Depends on the business. There's no two businesses use telephones the right way. Vodacom uses telephones to service its customers via thousands of call agents. If you're a mom and pop shop who sells hardware, then obviously use telephones differently. So I think your Facebook or your Twitter strategy depends on what your business is. I remember when Talk Radio 702, for example, I was doing shows on 702 at the time. This was before they really started with Twitter. I was sitting with the program manager and Alistair Teeling-Smith, and he said, look, I've set up a Twitter account, but I don't know what to do with it. So I said, well, look, the obvious thing for a radio station is to tweet what's coming up, during the day. And so he started doing that. I saw him a few weeks later, and he's like, dude, you've created a monster because now people want to know why I'm not telling them what's going to be on at 4 in the morning, and
Yeah.
But so 702 started doing that. That makes sense for a radio station. It doesn't make sense for in apartment.
Okay, no.
So it depends on the business.
I buy that. I think what's great
Hey,
to me
I
a
don't
little
know,
at the
man.
moment,
Housewives are like huge in the social media, man.
they are.
Hey, don't
Ian,
disagree, man.
Ian Parman should be doing stuff on Facebook. Maybe Twitter's not the right conduit, but Facebook most definitely.
I don't know.
So here's what's bugging me, I suppose, is just a general, and maybe this is South African specific, just a general lack of utility
Yeah.
in what businesses are doing on social media at the moment. So they're
Okay.
all just trying to engage in airy-fairy conversation with their customers, and that's okay when one or two people are doing it, or you're using it as a analyzed market intelligence tool. But if it doesn't have function, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm worried about what happens when people grow tired of our name conversation.
Well, it just settles down once again to being another cog in the works, like like
So
a
a service
telephone
center.
or a website.
Or a service center.
Sure.
You see, for me, it's all about the channel the customer wants to make use of. And I look at how I interact with brands that I make use of on Twitter. Twitter, for me, is often the easiest channel for me to make use of.
Now, that's
Well,
going to change.
No,
when
it might
everyone's
change,
using
but there'll be something else
Everyone
that'll
is
become
using
our
it.
Call
preferred channel.
centers
Right
were
now,
awesome when no one had phones.
Right now, it's my preferred channel, all right, and that kind of makes sense. I'm not saying that it's not going to be there, that it's going to be there forever, or that it's not going to change. But right now, I look at how Kerry and I make use of Twitter when it comes to interfacing with brands, and a lot of the time, it is to notify them of something that has gone wrong when we resonate well with that brand, to notify them of the fact that we have a problem, or to praise them if they've done something extremely good,
Yeah.
right? And I think in terms of the brand pushing information out to the Twitter sphere, there are ways and means to do that where you can get really, really good value. And I agree with you that it can become a bit mundane and a bit noisy and everything else. That's what's kind of cool about it right now, is we're figuring it out as we go along.
Nah, we
But I
figured
think-
it out. I don't
You know,
think
but I
everybody-
think, you know what, it's
I
definitely...
do not think we figured it out.
Not everybody's figured it out, just like some people haven't figured out telephones 50 years after the invention. But in general terms, the big companies who need the stuff have figured it out. It's not that complicated. It's not that clever. It's just another thing you do.
No, I don't know. I don't think South African corporates have figured it out. Not yet.
I think most of them. Well, South African corporates, by and large, haven't figured out how to answer the phone either. But
Oh, we are venomous tonight.
but it's true. It's true. Anyway,
Anywho,
Brett, what are you doing? You know how disruptive
This
that
is probably the funniest
Don't show him
tweet I've
stuff
seen
on
all
your
day.
laptop while we.
so read it.
So share it.
So
Oh, do you know?
it's been retweeted by Scott J. Orton, and it essentially says, it'd be cool if a fire truck was like an ice cream truck but just drove around selling fire to kids.
All
I
right.
think it's fantastic.
Okay. If you
It
say
could
so.
be the wine.
I'm buying your kids matches for Christmas.
Van
awesome.
Skyke 1, which I'm guessing is the Van Skyke's bookstore, on Twitter says, we get student queries via Facebook. So, yes, it's a channel for our customer that invariably has a BlackBerry and little airtime.
Cheap
go.
call center. Anyway,
Yes,
I think it's an interesting conversation.
definitely. And it's one that will be ongoing
yeah,
because
we'll
there's still
keep
a
on
lot of
having it.
consultants making a lot of money out of telling people that there's something different about
But
this.
of course. So have you seen that Google is cutting even more products? I just noticed this now.
Yeah.
In a link. No, nothing hectic, hey?
I think it's
So,
long overdue.
yeah.
Google has had a hell of a lot of bloat that it needed to get rid of.
That's something Larry Page seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he's now killed Google Message Continuity, which is some exchange thingy. He's killed SkyMap, the Android app.
Oh,
He's killed.
I liked SkyMap.
Yeah, SkyMap was
No,
rare.
he's given it
Wasn't
to
as good as
Carnegie.
Skyview.
He's given it to Carnegie Mellon to open source.
Okay,
Okay,
so that's
cool.
all right
Right.
then. That's fine.
Needlebase, their data management platform. Picnic, the online photo editor.
Yeah.
Google Social Graph API. That was a bit of a hash fail. That's killed.
I used their social graph API.
Did you?
Yeah, I implemented it on all our websites when Google Plus started becoming more significant, which happened about 2 weeks ago when Lady Gaga showed up on Google Plus
Yeah.
as well. Because why?
She's
It's the
wearing a
only
deep dress.
search engine that has proper search integration with Google
Yeah.
now.
They're also killing off Urchin, the client-based Urchin, which became Google Analytics. And in the same article, it says that Google Plus is now officially embedded in Gmail,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
should move them from 90 million users to 300 million users.
What they
very
really
quickly.
need to do is get their merging tool out of the door. So they've been promising for months a tool that'll merge Google Plus accounts to begin with, and then Google accounts overall.
Yes.
Because what happened with me was I've used Google Apps for Enterprise, right? So in my company, we use Google Apps, and when they first launched Google Plus, you couldn't sign up with a Google Apps for Business account. You had to use a Gmail account. So I had a secondary Google account, which I used, which was my Gmail account that I used to sign up for Plus. Now all my friends, colleagues, and everything are on Google Plus under that account, but my business account is where all my email is. And so none of that integration is working for me. Plus, when they launched Google Plus for Business, they automatically switched it on for everybody who uses Google Apps for Business. And so now I've got 2 Google Plus accounts, and I've got friends kind of coming to the one, and I've posted everything to the other one, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
Need a merger tool. Google's never been good with people who have multiple accounts. They made it possible to switch between the 2, but it's a pain.
Yeah, and you know what? I have separate Gmail accounts for very, very specific purposes. Every single one of my email addresses is backed up to a separate Gmail account. I have a business Gmail account, which we haven't actually migrated into apps yet, but we have distinct IMAP that sits with another server, and then I have a distinct email, Gmail account that marries to that I use for all of my Google integration. So all of my calendar, my contacts, everything else synchronizes through that.
Sounds very complicated.
No, but the thing is,
Kill the IMAP and just move it over to Google.
we need to do that at some stage. We need to start thinking about
The only
doing that.
problem is your archives that you need to migrate somehow.
That's not so difficult. You I was
it's
speaking to
simple.
somebody recently. You just
export
actually
inboxes.
no, or you set it to do, because it's all sitting there in IMAP. You set it to do a
Simp,
pop
yeah.
collection,
Yeah.
and it like pulls with the mad
what I
bandwidth
did.
sitting across the back end, and it will migrate across in the space of like 2-3 days.
But if you've got a cache on your machine, if you're using
you've got to toss
Thunderbird
the cache,
or Mail.app, you've got inbox caches anyway. You can just upload
No.
those.
The thing that's kept us from doing that though is our websites.
Yeah.
So while I know that I can just point all of my MX records and everything else at Google, I really like to have everything in one place so that I don't have to go multiple places to admin stuff. And all of our websites and our WordPress installs and everything else are sitting with DreamHost. And although DreamHost like kind of advocates we use Gmail, they kind of
it
like
has it
you
as
to
an
use
option.
It,
And it moves you off their servers for email, which is fantastic because then they don't have to worry about all the security that comes with email hosting.
Speaking of which, you see DreamHost's FTP was hacked this week.
Yes,
Entire FTP
They've
database,
reset all
every
of
single
their
username and
passwords.
password was compromised.
So DreamHost, if you're wondering what we're talking about, is a web hosting company that just does everything right. They give you shell access on their virtual servers. I've been with them now for like 6 years. Love DreamHost.
The best thing is I keep on getting these rewards that I use to buy .com domains with, right? It's
Yeah.
like I pay with DreamHost money. So I keep on paying them for my hosting. They give me like these like DreamHost bucks or whatever the case is. I don't even know what they're called.
I
But
don't
I
get
can-
that. I must look at why.
No. I only found out that they'd been like accumulating somewhere in the corner of the panel.
Woohoo, free domains.
Dude, you can buy .coms with them, like 2-year hosting. It's
Nice.
totally worthwhile doing.
I will go and check that the hell out. Something
You
else
should.
I've been checking out is Windows 8 Developer Preview, which I don't think we talk about our experiences with enough. The beta comes out in February next month.
It's unconfirmed, but it's
no, it's
February
been
next
confirmed.
month. Oh, has it been
Yeah.
confirmed? Okay.
My question is, I doubt they'll automatically update the developer preview to beta. You'll probably have to install beta from scratch.
Microsoft's got a tendency to do that. You have to kind of, when you move from beta 1 to beta 2 to
Yeah.
gold code, whatever the case is, you're going to have to toss and reinstall. There are hacks. There's always been hacks,
Yeah.
but they make it more difficult for you to hack it every single time. So
Yeah. So I've been impressed. I've been testing Windows 8 on a Lenovo X201 tablet laptop. And I first installed Windows 8 Developer Preview on it, and it didn't pick up anything. The touchscreen wasn't working. The sound wasn't working. Half the hardware wasn't working on it. But recently updated Developer Preview, the touchscreen started working, the sound started working,
Yeah.
sort of without me needing drivers from Lenovo. And once you get touchscreen going on Windows 8, because this is a proper tablet PC, it's just amazing how useful it actually is.
yeah, Metro just comes
Although-
alive, eh? It's rad.
Metro is cool with touch. It's better with touch with the mouse, but it's still a mess, man. Like, this interface just doesn't work. It's
Dude,
unintuitive.
it is okay.
It's clumsy.
Just give it some time. It is
I've given it lots of time
no, Simon. I'm saying give them some time to
sort
refine
of.
it.
Okay, yeah.
It is a developer preview, not even beta yet. I mean, beta is like do not run anything that you don't want to like piss down the drain almost immediately. That's beta 1 and beta 2. Seriously, it's remember we've got to go
Windows
beta 1,
7,
beta
the
2.
betas were
You have to
better
go
than
through.
the first Goldmaster.
Well, that was the case with Vista, but Vista got progressively worse as it approached its release date.
Yeah.
But we still have to go through some release candidates. We're probably looking at like an October, November release date for Windows 8. It's definitely this year.
I think it'll be before then.
What's been kind of interesting has been to see some of the hardware, and I don't know whether you got to take a look at the Lenovo Yoga at
Yes.
CES. That
Just
was a
flips all the way around.
rad little.
So it's a laptop. You open the laptop and you just carry on going, and you flip it all the way around. It folds
Yeah,
into
so
a
the
tablet
moment
with a
the
keyboard on the
screen
back,
goes-
which is a bit weird.
So the moment the screen goes through 180 degrees, it disables the keyboard and the trackpad, which
Yeah.
is kind of smart. And then you clip it. It's like ridiculously thin
Yes.
and works really, really nice with Metro. Designed expressly
Yeah.
for the Windows 8
Well, it's a
experience,
prototype.
so-
We don't know if it'll turn into a product, and it feels very weird holding a tablet that's got keys on the back. It felt very
Yeah, I've got a
strange.
feeling that they
I
will.
can imagine.
They will have something that you clip onto the bottom of it or something like
Why
that.
not just
yeah.
make a pivot screen like they always have with their tablets?
The pivot screens mean a lot of additional
Bulk.
thickness,
Yeah.
all right?
Ah,
and apparently, so
means
you know,
weight,
I
which
was
means
asking about this.
soreness.
Apparently, the whole mechanism that sits in the middle, because there needs to be a ribbon cable or something like that still communicates with it. It actually undergoes a ton of wear in that pivot process.
yeah.
Because if you think about it, a screen interface cable has got a lot of wires in it, so like a lot of data pushing across it.
Mm.
So apparently that's the reason they've moved away from that as a
You know what Microsoft still
as a
hasn't
design
done?
route.
Just back onto Metro. They haven't convinced the world to upgrade every 2 years.
No.
So I wonder how quickly this Windows 8 is going to spread
They
out.
have a lot more success, Andy, in the consumer space than what they do in the business space. It's the business space where the slow
Well,
upgrades
the only
take
reason
place,
they
so.
have success in the consumer space is because when you buy a laptop
Yeah.
or a computer,
it's
it
kinda
comes
sure.
with it on anyway.
So there's no
But-
actual upgrading.
But what businesses, Windows 8 will be what most businesses skip, because a lot of them skipped Vista, went
Yeah.
Windows. So it was 2000.
Well, a lot of businesses are still on XP.
Yeah, well, some businesses are still on 2000, although it's end of life.
Some are still on Millennium and still regretting it.
I haven't
Yes,
seen any on
no.
Millennium.
Seriously, it's like that was the operating system that. Seriously, you should go back to DOS, dude.
Yeah.
Just do not run ME.
But a lot of companies
Wait.
switched, just sort of skipped Vista, went 7, and I doubt they'll probably skip 8 and go whatever.
Seven's
after.
actually been really, really good for them. Apparently, it's been one of the most
7,
successful
but
migrations.
7 is a solid release. It's a
a
really
power,
good
It's
OS.
a power product. I think a lot of the stuff that interests me about 8 is what's going on behind the scenes and what you
Yeah.
see the company starting to do. That's kind of interesting. So
Has this been built
Um,
from the ground up?
this has been built from the ground up. Yeah.
No, there's a lot
well,
of
I
7
mean,
code
a
in
lot
there.
of the
Metro's
a lot of the
been-
kernel is the same, but it's
a hybrid
yeah,
kernel.
Yeah,
Mm.
but there's a lot of it that has. They
It'll
were
make
saying that
sense-
it's
it'll make
actually
sense
the
on
leanest
touchscreens.
kernel they've produced to
Yeah.
date.
Look,
which
it's
is
still the
kind of-
Windows 7 kernel, essentially, at this stage. Metro is, of course, a completely new invention. I like Metro. I like the idea behind Metro. I like the tiles. I like the sort of widget approach. I really like the uncluttered control panel and settings interface. I like some of the apps that Microsoft has released for it, like Socialite. I like the fact that you can share from anywhere, from within apps. You just flick out that sidebar and you can share
yes,
to
these
Twitter or
the
Facebook or-
contracts. The contracts, they call it.
Yeah, very
it's
cool.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. But when you actually use Metro, it needs a hell of a lot of refinement. It's a bit of a mess at the
No,
moment.
look, it's
Are you using
it's
it on
very
a desktop
early days.
or on a
so-
touchscreen?
a touchscreen.
On a touchscreen.
Yeah.
No, look, it's very early days. It's dev preview. It's not even
No, sure.
beta yet.
Sure, and the shop's not running yet, so you can't get any other
You see, and
apps.
that's kind of just to get into some of the things that I think are quite interesting. I think the shop interface. I think the big server infrastructure they have to roll out worldwide to support that is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the cloud synchronization stuff. So change a background or change a password or do anything on a machine from a personalization perspective and have it automatically reflected across all of your machines
Yes.
is kind of cool. And the fact that they're using SkyDrive and Live as the primary authenticator and conduit for that is cool. I really like the SkyDrive photo reel. So that essentially you take a photo using your Windows phone, and instead of the photo reel residing on the device, it automatically synchronizes into the cloud.
Yeah.
And you
like
can then-
photo stream with iOS.
Yeah, but it's now a shared photo reel that all of your devices can have access to. So I could take a photo.
stream.
I could take a photo using
Very
my
much
phone,
like PhotoStream.
and I can tweet it from my desktop
Yeah.
3-4
Same
seconds
as
later, which is
PhotoStream,
kind of
yeah.
cool.
But you got to be connected to Wi-Fi because it won't
Obviously,
push
yeah,
over
you need
3G.
connectivity.
Yes, I mean, all of that kind of stuff does really take into account that you've got the like unlimited data capability. It's going to be very data heavy, but they're moving in the right direction, and that's
Alright.
that's cool.
So we are running out of time. I do like what's happening with Windows Phone, by the way. Looking cool. A lot of Me Too stuff, except for the tiles, but other than that, very cool.
And Nokia's Windows phones launch this week.
Yeah.
So a couple of days time.
To
Finally
be
they've got a
honest, I would skip
designer.
the first Lumia devices. They
The
are
900
rush
looks
jobs.
the
no
900 looks
front-facing
very
camera.
nice.
They've made a lot of concessions to get it out when they have. I would wait for the next one, but that's just me.
Okay.
You know, you look at the N9, for example. It's basically the same chassis, but they've taken out the camera.
Well, the 900's bigger than the
single
800, right? So it's a bigger screen built on the same chassis. It's also got the front-facing
Oh,
camera.
does it now?
Yeah, that's what the
Okay.
big news was with the 900 and LTE.
I missed that then. I stand corrected.
So,
Not that
so
LTE
it's
helps
it's a
in South
bigger
Africa.
it's a bigger 800, which
Okay.
is kind of rad.
Anyway, we need to do our picks of the week. So let's do that. When's
Cool.
the Nokia launch, by the way? It's this week. Hey?
It is
when?
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
the
Okay.
25th.
Let's do our picks of the week. Shall we start with you, Andy?
Yeah, sure.
What would you like to pick?
I would like to pick everything. I pick technology, which is cool. No,
Alright.
I'm gonna pick. So I've been playing a lot with the iPad. I'll do one quick pick, one medium pick. The quick pick is the iPad for kids. It's just ridiculous.
What do you mean in general?
Yeah,
It's not a separate edition for children.
No,
Have you got the
little do
Numberlies?
you know, iPad Kids
The
coming out.
Numberlies is the new hot kids app.
The
No,
Numberlies.
okay. let
It's
me
an
get that.
ex-Pixar designer who's done an app
Oh, wow.
called the Numberlies. He should have taken a writer with him from Pixar because you can like the story could have been like the whole concept could have been more sort of rounded but my kids love the app and the animation's
Numberlies.
beautiful, of course. It's
No,
like
I can
Pixar
see.
level animation.
Look, I mean, your kid's a little bit older than mine, but my 1.5-year-old is there's an app called If You're Happy, and there's some cue card apps. He is eating that
crazy,
stuff
eh?
up. He can actually drag shapes across the screen to fit in
Yeah.
little shape holes and stuff like that. It's absolutely amazing.
My kids also love Android. The Android tablets
What?
have got so many fantastic kids apps available for cheaper. And just fantastic range of kids apps and books, and all the Dr. Seuss books are available for Android. Plus, I like seeing games that I can pay for without lying about where I live, listed in rands.
Shut
Okay?
up! I live in Kenya.
Google checkout with my South African credit card. Google knows I live in South Africa and they actually want my money. Unlike Apple, who shows me dollar signs and makes me lie about being Kenyan to sell me games. So I like that, and I like supporting companies that
I spend
support
a lot
my
of time
country.
in Texas. Okay, it's all right. Some of my mail goes there. It's
Yeah.
all right.
You know what? If I can give money to a company that acknowledges my country's existence instead of one that doesn't, then I will.
I have it
So-
on good authority that you'll be able to have your existence acknowledged before the end of 2012.
With all due respect, Brett, I've heard you.
But this
promise
time
things
for
like this
realsies,
before.
okay?
For realsies. So that's the mini pick. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands for iPad. For 1.5-year-olds, they rock it. And then
Awesome.
geeking it totally up to 11. Modern Combat 3 for iPad.
Modern Combat.
Modern Combat 3. It's a Gameloft game.
Like Gameloft is so good at ripping off. Like, so obviously this is their Modern Warfare. Yeah.
Totally. So,
But it's fantastic,
just
dude.
take a look.
It's just
at the
crazy
graphics.
good.
It is
crazy good.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't know that this was possible on an iPad. The textures and the way the sun kind of refracts when you look at it, and
Look, while Gameloft certainly does rip off other franchises, they are fantastic developers. And what amazes me is how quickly they roll out games. They also do Dungeon Hunter, which is probably the best RPG I've played on iOS.
it's not really an RPG; it's a hack and slash.
Well, it's hack and slash is a
Semantics.
RPG.
Okay.
Semantics, man.
Dude,
It's a
don't
hack and
argue with
slash
Diablo
RPG.
fans that Diablo's not an RPG.
I'm sure Diablo's
Yes.
better than
They
Dungeon
will like
Hunter.
pwn your ass.
Dude, it totally is. But Dungeon Hunter is the closest thing to the Diablo experience that you'll get on a mobile.
No, that Modern
It's true.
Combat 3, and it's got that thing that I like about modern gaming is that it's immersive. So, when you jump out of a helicopter, the first person view actually follows you as you go
Yeah.
down, and it's got like little mini cutscenes which you stay in character with the with the POV.
This game is it's amazing. Like 5 years
It's
ago,
running
the kind
on
of
an
desktop
iPad,
computer
Simon.
you would
Head
have had to
officially
buy
blown.
to-
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think I've
That's
ever
me.
had a laptop that could have run a game with that level of quality.
Oh, I just shot someone in the face.
It's
Simon is sold.
amazing.
You know me. I'm a man of. some
Are there
privileges.
horses though?
No, there
It's
are
the
no
only
horses.
thing that's missing. Simon likes like
There are
Dude,
no
I love
horses.
Red
Riding
Dead
his horse and
Redemption,
shooting
but
people
it's
in the
more about
face.
shooting people in the face than
Red Dead
your
Redemption.
mode of transportation in the game.
Grand Theft Horse.
Grand Theft Horse.
Yeah. No, Modern Combat 3 is
Epic headshot.
Dominating.
I'm too good at this. Take it away. All right, nice picks. Bretsky,
I have 4.
What do you
I'm
mean
going to
you're too
shoot
good at
through
it?
them
You
quickly.
died.
I died after I let go of the controls and handed it to you. So actually, you died. Same
died.
character, different god controlling it.
So
Different deity.
I wasn't here for last week's CES report back, so I'm going to report back on the 4 coolest things I saw at CES.
Okay. Take
In
it.
no order of importance, and I'll go very, very quickly.
If
The
you
first
pick
is-
Project Fiona and things we spoke about last week, and a punch you in the face.
No, I got rid of things.
All right.
Did you speak about the new gloves?
No.
Okay, so new gloves are really, really rad. I spend a lot of time in cold countries. I also have touch-sensitive devices. Means you've got to pull your gloves off in order to use your iPhone or your iPad. These are nice, warm woolen gloves with conductive tips in every single one of the fingers. So not only can you pinch to
Wait,
zoom and stuff like
seriously
that on your
now?
devices, it's extremely rad.
Or
But
you could
can
use a
type-
frozen Vienna.
No. You can't use a frozen Vienna.
You can.
Simon.
I've seen
Why
somebody
would
do
one
it.
want
Okay,
to use
why
a
would you-
frozen
Because
Okay,
you
you
don't
would
have to
have
take
to-
your gloves off.
Simon, you would have to
It's the
tape.
ultimate winter stylus.
You would have to. You would have to type. You would have to tape.
That's just nasty.
You would have to tape. Look at me. Listen to me. You'd have to tape 10 frozen Viennas to your fingers in order to use them in the same way.
If
You can
use the
type.
piano app, yeah, but
You can type on an iPad using these
Brett,
gloves.
this is a revolution. In
They are called new
interfaces.
gloves. They are $39. I think they are awesome.
That's
Dude,
amazing.
until you can scale glass walls and
Device
skyscrapers
number
with them.
2. Now, Andy witnessed this a couple of days
This
ago. That is
great.
extremely
You
rad.
must see the picture.
The
Let's see if I can get it.
life-proof cell phone case. Did you pick this, Si?
No.
Okay, life-proof cell phone case. Snowproof, waterproof. Yes, waterproof for your iPhone. Waterproof up to 10 feet or 3 meters. We put it in a jug of water and we phoned it earlier this week. The iPhone is still perfectly fine. It's like $80 in the States. Apparently it's coming out here later this year, which will be quite rad. But that is the coolest thing. The number of times somebody has spilt a beer on my phone or like spilt some like
Right.
sauce on my phone. Very, very cool. Right. Pick number 3, Velodyne headphones, earphones. All right. So
Those are the in-ear ones that don't fall out.
no. Velodyne is probably one of the most respected names in audiophile subwoofers in the
Really?
world. All
So
right.
respected. I've never heard of them.
Indeed. For audiophiles. This is the thing. It's like
Okay, I'm obviously
you're going
not
to
one of
spend
those
$70,000,
then, hey?
$80,000 on a subwoofer. All right. These are the kind of subwoofers these guys make. Really, really cool subwoofers.
Right.
So this year they decided to start making earbuds. These are distortion-free, block out the outside world, sound isolating, with the maddest bass I've ever heard. Very, very cool metallic blue case.
All
Really
right.
rad. They're like $80 as well. You
Dude,
can buy them online.
the flagship subwoofer is $179.
No. They make some
I
audiophile
heard
stuff.
$80,000 coming out of your mouth.
They make some audio. They make audiophile stuff that is obviously not advertised on their website, but
All right.
nonetheless.
You know what? There's
Sorry, that was
world,
funny. I'm
world
dissing you.
peace,
This is
world
funny.
hunger,
What the hell, people? What the hell,
and
people?
schmodels that we could give $80,000.
Oh wait,
to.
yeah. Oh, wait, I found an expensive one. It's $560.
They make crazy expensive
I was just
stuff.
listening to a ZA Tech show when you said there was a billion applications developed.
No, it
And
was
they
a
had
million.
to change it 10 minutes later
10
to a
minutes.
million.
Anyway,
So by
nonetheless.
$80,000, do you mean $800?
We should do a Bretsky blooper reel.
Okay, so they make killer subwoofers.
We're just
and
teasing you, Brett.
We still
Nice
love you,
pick.
man.
pick number 4, and the raddest device is something called the Y Drive. I don't know whether you picked this last week, Si.
No, it's that Kingston product.
Yes. So it's a little flash-based storage device with built-in Wi-Fi.
Notice I picked all the things he got for free.
No, I got a lot of stuff for free at CES.
Media
You know what I got for
These are
free
just
at
the
CES?
coolest 4 free
You
things
know what
I
I
got
got
at
for free at
CES.
CES? Business cards from the people I spoke
Business
to.
cards.
That was it.
dude. You got to try
you
harder.
gotta hang with Bretsky. He's
Can
Can
set
I
himself
quickly
up
just
proper.
tell you about how rad the Y drive is, though? Seriously.
Okay.
4 picks, man. We're bored.
Okay. The Y drive
Can I go home
available
now?
in. Screw you guys. Listen. All
No,
right.
Simon's got to find links for all
16.
of these.
I'll give you the links. 16, 32, and 64 gig capacities.
For the
Flash
ones that exist.
device. Flash device. Built-in wireless.
Yeah.
Right. You put music and video on this little thing
you
like
put
you would like
files
a
on
normal
it.
little like you would like a normal little external hard drive. But the rad thing is you can then stream that content to your iPad or your Kindle Fire or your Android device. So if you've run out of space on your iPad, which is, apps take up a crap load of space at the moment. I'm finding I don't have space for video on my iPad anymore.
Connect
That
over
modern-
Wi-Fi to the hard drive.
Yeah, so it
and
creates a little hotspot with flash-based
very clever.
storage.
That's
You
cool.
can stream high def content. It is ridiculously quick. It's like, so you know how you kind of shuffle, not shuffle, but jog very, very quickly to different parts of a file.
Yeah.
On a high def file, absolutely no hassles, right? It's like having the storage natively inside the device. So that is something to look out for. 16, 32, and 64 gig versions. Apparently, they are in with ICASA at the moment, being approved, and there are a couple of niggles there, but they should be available relatively shortly. That's a Y drive from Kingston.
They need to learn the trick. If you don't register with Icasa, they don't figure it out.
Yeah.
The Kindle still hasn't been. Well, I suppose now that Incredible's got it, maybe it has.
But yeah, check it out.
Cool. Y drive. I like it.
The Y drive. So that is the life-proof case, Velodyne headphones. I'm trying to think. The Y
New
drive
gloves.
and the new gloves, NU gloves
Which are really just gloves.
with conductive tippy things.
Which
You
means
are
they've got
right
that-
about the space, though. That Modern Combat, I think, is 1.8 gigs.
Dude, can
As
I
an
tell you
app.
what takes up a ton of space on my iPad is the Wired application. Takes up
Yeah.
a ton of space.
300
Yeah.
megs per
And,
So
episode.
issues are massive.
And if you played around with a wallpaper app,
Mm.
kind of inspirational stuff, they just kind of beam you rare like a pic or something like that a day. Really, really high def, cool stuff. But if you've been using it for a while, it just tends to like craft up your machine.
Yeah.
So, but apps do take up a ton of space.
I don't know what I should pick this week. So many. You know what? I'll go with In the Plex. I don't think I've picked it yet. Which is Stephen Levy's book about Google, been out for a few months now. But really, sort of the most up-to-date behind-the-scenes look at Google, where it came from, how it operates, how the company ticks, who the key characters are, how it handled all its major acquisitions and breaks into new businesses. Just a fantastic book about Google. And what's nice about it is it's divided up into parts, so you might not be so interested about how Google set up AdWords and AdSense, but you might be really interested in Android, with the dispute between Apple and all of that. You can just skip to that part and read all about Android. I'm listening to it as an audiobook while I'm driving around, so very cool. So if you are interested in Google, and I hope I haven't picked it before because I tend to forget these things, check out In the Plex.
I should be uploading a couple of pics this week that I took at the Google Play, which was pretty cool. But
Okay.
like,
We're on bretthaggard.com.
yeah, I should be uploading.
It's
But
once every 6 months.
cool little.
Home on the
No,
web.
no, actually more. Like at least every three and a half months. But cool stuff like their first server. So you hear about the Googleware. These like cardboard boxes with like these racks with cardboard boxes in them and PC boards like kind of duct taped together and like chewing gum and stuff like that. Their first like big server that they built was like on display in the one
Yeah.
reception, which is kind of rad.
So the
Old-
chat room started a new
Old
drinking game.
Pentium Pro processors, which were
Every
cool.
time Bretsky says extremely rad.
No, I'm jealous. I wish a drinking game would be named after me.
So we'll call this episode of the ZA Tech
Sorry, I
Show
have one other thing to show.
extremely rad.
Yeah, I have one other thing to
Liz.
say.
Extremely rad,
extremely
extremely rad,
rad.
extremely rad, extremely rad.
I have something you can say extremely
Mainline,
rad, dude.
bitches.
So remember 6 months ago I told you I was backing up on Carbonite?
Yeah.
I am done.
Really
Taken
well done.
Did it, like, how long did it take you?
6 months.
I told you, man.
Can I tell you what I do? And it works-
145
and it works
gigs.
better.
Up.
Is the reason you use CrashPlan is not so you can back up to CrashPlan service, but you can
mail
back
them a
up to
drive?
anybody. No, you can back up to anybody's server. So what I've done is there are 3 people. My parents are one of them. They've got a home server installed for them, an HP ProLiant home server. You run CrashPlan there. I've got CrashPlan running on a Mac Mini at my house and CrashPlan at a friend's house, and all 3 of those houses back up to each other. So you seed it with a drive, went to my parents' house, gave them a seed of my backup, and now my files just concurrently back up to their server at home. And if I need to go and fetch my backup, it's a drive to Pretoria to my folks' house or to my mate in Joburg.
That is extremely rad.
Someone was telling me that that Google actually has that available as a service. So if you migrate to
you
apps,
can use Live Mesh
no. If you migrate to
with Microsoft as
to
well.
apps, you can fill a drive up with your content and ship it to them, and they will put it onto
Really.
their storage. Yeah.
But then if it
Google.
dude, you can't beat CrashPlan, because now if I need to get that backup back from Google, I need a disk to be flown out from Mountain View. Whereas I can just go to Pretoria now and get my entire backup from my parents.
So what, is it like peer-to-peer with your chosen
Yes.
seeds?
Yeah. And then if you pay, and that's free, by the way, the software, then if you
Ah.
pay an extra $5 a month, you can add. So when you open the CrashPlan application, Linux, Mac, and Windows, it's got destinations.
This is your pick of the week, Simon.
I picked it before, ages ago.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. You can add destinations. So you say, back up my computer to these destinations. The server at my mom's house, a server at the office, wherever you install CrashPlan, you can back up to. It gives you a password. You don't even need to configure your router. And then for $5 a month, add CrashPlan as another backup destination. And your computer backs up to all those places.
So because the thing I've
In entirety.
Yes.
So I'm going to dump 145 gigs on my poor mommy's
I'm
computer.
on 375 gigs at the moment.
and it
Yes,
dumps
but-
that on someone else's computer.
No, but the
I've
point,
got
the
a
point,
server
Andy,
at my
is you
mom's
have the
house with a
ability
2 terabyte drive in
fill
it.
it up on your LAN and then send it to somewhere across a WAN.
No, what I did was I went to my mom's house and to my mate's house with
You
a
ran-
hard drive,
Yes, and it ran. Yeah,
seeded
yeah.
them,
No, yeah, indeed.
and now
yeah.
it just recursively or whatever concurrently.
No, but what I'm saying is
what's
it
the word I'm
didn't
looking
copy
for?
385 gig over the internet.
No.
It copied it over a LAN to get the
Yes.
first snapshot done.
Shut up.
That's
I've
the
loaded
point.
145 gigs on the South African internet. I've uploaded. I think that's
Yes.
extremely
Now you can
rad.
go back to 3 gig. 3 gig.
No,
cap
there's a bug
DSL.
now. Like it won't
Yeah.
finish. It keeps loading like
But
an
you
extra
see,
gig.
My
Don't
problem,
worry, we'll sort it out when
my
we go to
problem
Texas.
using Carbonite as a South African is then your computer gets stolen, you need to do a restore. It's going to take at least 3 weeks to restore unless they ship you a drive from the States, which is going to take
140
4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I do the crash plan thing. And unless, like, in
No.
the same night, Pretoria and Johannesburg are obliterated, in which case I'll have bigger problems than my
Struck
picture
down by
library.
the giant spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These the aliens, man.
All right. Let's call it a night.
I'm gonna go play Modern Combat 3.
You do that. Thanks for being here, Andy Hatfield.
My pleasure.
Check out realtimewine.co.za,
.co.za.
andyhatfield.com. At
Hopefully
Andy
more
Hatfield
news
on
coming
Twitter.
up about that soon. I'm
Cool.
wrapped up in legalities at the moment.
Nice. Brett Haggard from Hypertext Media Communications. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Si.
At Bretsky on Twitter. And
That's
I'm
me.
at Simon Dingle, and this was episode 195 of the ZA Tech Show, officially titled Extremely Rad, for Monday, 23 January 2012. The
I
ZA
just
Tech Show
finished all
is
of mine.
made
Go, go, go,
possible
go.
by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za, and we'll be back next week